Hey guys, my name is Gerald and this is my first tutorial. For my first tutorial, I really wanted to show you guys one of my favorite techniques when I'm editing a Milky Way image, and it is called star reduction. So let's get started. And this image is pretty much almost done. I have a few more things that I would like to do. Maybe I'll show you those at the end. Alright, so here we go. First thing we're going to want to do is duplicate the layer so that we're not making permanent adjustments. So what you're going to want to do now is go to Select, Color Range, and what you're going to want to do is find a star, just find an average color star. Choose this one, this one. Now we're going to adjust the fuzziness. That looks good enough for me. You know what? We're going to add a couple more stars. We're going to add some random ones. So when you're going to add stars to your selection, you're going to hold the Shift button. Just want to make sure that I have enough stars here. Oop, not that one. Okay, now we can adjust the fuzziness once more. There we go, that's a little better. Alright, so now we're going to hit OK. And so we're going to also want to modify this selection right now. So what we're going to do is come down, select, modify, and expand. We're going to expand by 1 pixel. And then we're going to do another modification to the selection by select, modify, and then feather. And we're going to feather that by 1 pixel as well. So now we're going to hit OK. And we're going to hide the ants. We'll zoom back out. Okay, so now that we have our selection, we know our selection is made, it's hidden. We're going to go to Filter, Other, and then Minimum. And now with minimum, it's best to stay within the 1 pixel range. I mean, it all really depends on your image. For this one, 1 pixel, we might be able to go actually a little more than that. Oh, not that high. So there we go. You see how it just kind of dims those stars out around there so they're not quite so distracting, and you also have, it also kind of helps give more depth to the stars. So, you know, I'm going to come back a little bit on that. We'll do 2.5. So this image actually needed more than 1 pixel. Majority of the images you will only need 1 pixel selected. So now we'll hit OK. And so because, oh wow, yeah, that really, sorry guys, my, what's it called? My preview was showing me a different preview apparently. So you can always, if you did do too much, so 1 pixel definitely would have been enough. But, so if you did do too much, you can always come back with the opacity a little. Or, yeah, I mean, that looks alright to me. You know, I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to duplicate this bottom layer here. And since we already have the selection open, all we have to do is just come in to Filter, Minimum, and this time we'll do it at 1 pixel. 1 pixel. Alright, now we'll hit OK. Let the filter do its thing. Alright, so there you go. Now you can really see it. Yeah, see, it just blurred everything out. Or not blurred, it just minimized all those stars just a bit too much for my liking. And that's even at 50%. Versus this one, well, you know, Maybe let's just do a happy medium. Let's just blend them both together with a lower opacity for the top one. I kind of do feel like the second one we made wasn't necessarily the way I wanted it. You know what? I'll tell you what we'll do. This is another thing that you can do. Say if you just want it a little more in a certain spot, you just add a layer mask. Oh, we had our selection made. Okay, so you're going to want to do a blank mask. You can invert it to all black, or you can just use the black brush and paint out the things that you do not want. So I'm going to do the inverted mask, the black mask, which hides everything, and come back and just paint in what I want to have the minimum filter on. So now we can use, we'll use a 25% opacity, and we'll just brush with a white brush right over the Milky Way, because I did like what it was doing to all the dust up here in the galaxy itself. Let's see, did that look alright? Maybe we'll raise the opacity a little. Alright, yeah, we'll lower it just a smidge, that's good enough. And that's just a very subtle adjustment. You guys might not even be able to register that. So now we can go ahead and merge these two down, or group it if you would like to work in a non-destructive workflow. You can just hit a group. And now what we're going to want to do to that as well. Oh, secondly, because it's doing stuff to the foreground, we're going to want to put a mask on that as well. And for this one, we can just be a little more loose with it, but we will do it at 100% opacity. And basically what we want to do is protect our foreground. So with the black brush, I'm just going to be painting right over all the foreground. And like I said, we can just be a little loose with this. Wasn't doing too much to the edges, so we can get away with the loose one. But if it is best to use a selection, make a selection for the sky, which if you were doing any blending, you should have already made. So I am going to clean this up just a little bit. Felt like it brought back a little bit too much of the stars over here in the corner and around here. Alright, so that's good enough. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to add a little bit of contrast back in to the Milky Way to add a little bit more definition, and also add a little bit more sharpness to the stars, because they're looking quite a bit glowy right now. So what we're going to do is do a merge visible, come up to filter, other, high pass. And now for this, we don't want to have too high of a radius. We actually kind of want more, it's more for the fine detail in the Milky Way. So around, we'll do a 4.7 for this one. So that should work well enough to add a little bit more contrast and sharpness and punch back into that Milky Way. So now once that's done, you go to your blend mode and you come down to overlay or soft light. And for this one, I prefer soft light. It's just a bit too crunchy when it's in overlay. And now you can always roll back the opacity if it is just a little bit too much. But there you go. Now you have it. The sky looks great. The Milky Way has its contrast, but it's also now more prominent of the subject without too much distraction from the other stars and the sides. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and are able to use this in some of your guys' images. And I guess aloha, and thank you very much for watching my first tutorial, and I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. Thanks for watching.